The National Park Service says there's anywhere from between 3,000 to 6,000 bison in the park, which that is a massive number, but keep in mind, it is a massive park. So there is a good chance that you'll be able to see them on your visit, but that is not guaranteed at all. I was super lucky and saw this massive herd right as I was coming in as the sun came up. And it was just so cool seeing this big of a herd just walking through the field and the steam from the geothermal features. It was a truly incredible way to start my day at Yellowstone. And yes, the bison do cause traffic jams. This was pretty early in the morning, so it wasn't stopping up a ton of people, but do plan for that in your trip that you could be stuck in traffic. Almost immediately after parting ways with the bison, I arrived at Fountain Paint Pots area. This area consists of a raised boardwalk with a couple steps, amazing views, and several types of geothermal features, including hot springs, geysers, and mud volcanoes. This is a great trail and a must-stop for family members of all ages. Just please remember to keep an eye on your kids and make sure they can stay on the boardwalk without attempting to touch the water. This is a beautiful but deceptively dangerous park, so please stay on open and marked trails at all times. So you should have a pretty good chance of seeing a geyser go off. I will include a link to the list of geysers below, so you have a better chance of finding one, along with the National Park Service website. Next up, we'll be moving on to Midway Geyser Basin, which is just a short drive down the road. What you're seeing here is water being expelled from the Excelsior Geyser into the Firehole River. This geyser can expel over 4,000 gallons of water per minute. The Midway Geyser Basin also contains the famous Grand Prismatic Spring, which is known for its vibrant colors. These colors are caused by trillions of microscopic organisms called thermopiles, which in that quantity and density can cause these beautiful, vibrant colors seen around this deep blue pool. Just a short drive from Midway Geyser Basin. It's going to be your first right. You're going to see a lot of people walking in one direction, and that's going to be the trail to the Grand Prismatic Spring overlook. Luckily, the trail is very well marked, as there are some split-offs. One thing to note about this overlook is even though it is a fairly short trail, it gets extremely packed. So if you have the time, I'd say it is worth the view. It's amazing, but it is going to be up to you and your schedule for if this is something you want to do. All right, and we're going to try something here. I'm going down this trail that is not the way that I came up. I'm hoping that this loops around to a split off that I saw earlier. I'm hoping it's just not a massive waste of time. But yeah, it would be cool if we could get some other views that were not a million people. Ooh, like this. See, it's already not a waste of time. But yeah, this place is beautiful. Like, I really hope the footage from earlier came out well because just everywhere you look, there's something super cool. I am so happy that I took this trail. My worry before wasn't that it was just gonna take time or whatever. I was just worried that like it was gonna go through trees and I wasn't gonna see anything cool, but really glad I did not listen to those thoughts. This is awesome and very quiet. And you get awesome views without having to look through people, which is super cool. This is the busiest park that I've been to. And as you can see here, this was a weekend kind of in the middle of the day, but it was packed. Again, this is the busiest park I've been to, and I actually just stumbled on the geyser going off. I wasn't even waiting. One of the really cool things that I saw is that part of the discharge from the geyser actually runs under this boardwalk right behind the visitor center. So if you keep an eye out, you can see it. It's just super, super cool. Is that this is just dry most of the time and the water just flows right off. Unfortunately, this is the only footage that I got of Old Faithful going off. Again, I stumbled on it. I was not expecting it to actually go off. And I did come back later, but unfortunately, even after waiting, it did not go off when it was supposed to, and by the time it did, it was so dark the cameras could not get any footage. So you all just saw really good timing. I just saw Old Faithful insanely packed here. So what I think the plan is, I think we're gonna move on and then come back later in the day. Hopefully it's not as crazy. I don't know, I doubt that it will be. It's probably still going to be this bad, if not worse. But yeah, so right now, I got my Cobb salad from Buc-ee's that I picked up yesterday. Gonna eat that, and then we're gonna see what else there is. But yeah, having a super, super fun time today. This is an awesome park. Yeah, found a cool little pull-off. A little problem we're having. I accidentally spent like 3.5 or 4 hours at Prismatic Spring. So we only made it like a quarter way around one loop. So we've got like 6 hours left to do the rest of the bottom loop. And then potentially come back to Old Faithful. So we'll see. I'm sure I'm gonna be here till sundown, which should be like 7:55-ish, hopefully. Yeah, because I've been here since 6 this morning. It's gonna be like a sun up to sundown thing, so. Yeah, we'll see how the rest of the day goes. I'm feeling good so far, at least, even if we don't finish the loop. Seeing a ton of really awesome things and getting some really cool pictures. And in video, so it's a fun thing, just last minute thing. So we'll see. No matter what, it's worth it. Even from what I've seen so far, if that was it, it would be worth it. This is such a cool park. I'm really excited to see the rest of it. Contrary to what the name might have you think, the West Thumb Geyser Basin is located at the southeast corner of the Yellowstone Grand Loop Road, with stunning views of the features in the West Thumb section of the Yellowstone Lake. This area consists of 2 boardwalk loops. The outer loop is a half-mile or 0.8 kilometers, and the inner loop is a quarter-mile or 0.4 kilometers. Both loops start from the parking lot and consist of slight elevation change. This area should be easy for both younger and older family members to enjoy. Just because they are shorter loops, do not speed through this area. Like a lot of other areas in the park, there's a lot to see here. I spent about an hour and 45 minutes here enjoying these features and filming. This area is a must-stop on the lower loop. While I was there, I also did unfortunately have the opportunity to see a ranger scooping coins out of one of the geothermal ponds. While I'm not expecting anyone who finds this video to even consider throwing anything into a feature in a national park, it's still really disheartening to see. And in Yellowstone, it is especially dangerous because not only does it put park rangers at risk by them having to go near these geysers and hot springs, it also damages the organism mat that it lands on, and in extreme cases can plug up and destroy those geysers and hot springs, which will not be able to be restored. Remember, for the safety of you and the park, stay on the trail, never leave anything behind, please watch your children, and never trespass in closed areas. The mud volcano area is super cool and definitely worth a stop. It has several different types of features, obviously including some mud volcanoes. There's a short loop that does have a slight elevation change on a boardwalk, and there are some steps that you can optionally take that will lead up to a viewing area. This was a super cool area, but unfortunately, as I was running out of daylight, I did not have time to explore some of the other trails around there. We got the bison up here, just crossing the road, and there's some down there that you can see, I think. It was on this stretch that I just saw an insane amount of wildlife. I don't know if it's always like this. I've heard the wildlife at Yellowstone's amazing, but this just felt a little bit exceptional. Maybe it wasn't, maybe it's always like this, but this was just incredible. it is that time of day. So I have zero idea when this last erupted, but I know there are some other kind of pools and stuff around, so I did not check those out when I was here earlier. Still super excited to check it out, even if we missed the geyser, but yeah, I don't think they have the sign out, but we'll check. So I just spoke to 3 lovely women who all had different answers. The one thing they could agree on was that it went for longer than usual, between 3 and 5 minutes, and that it was either going to be a normal time between or much longer. There are some people waiting, not nearly as much as before. I think the plan is I think there's a loop, I'm gonna walk around that. We'll see what's up when I get back. The Upper Geyser Basin area, which contains the Visitor Center, the Old Faithful Inn, and of course, Old Faithful, consists of several sections including the Old Faithful area, Geyser Hill, Black Sand Basin, Biscuit Basin, and more. The Visitor Center and Old Faithful areas have a paved walking path loop and boardwalk that are relatively flat that most people should have no issues with. The Upper Geyser Basin area is the most densely concentrated geyser region in the world, with 1 square mile containing at least 150 of these hydrothermal features. Unfortunately, a couple weeks before this was filmed, there was a hydrothermal explosion event at Biscuit Basin that severely damaged one of the boardwalks. The area will be closed through at least the rest of the 2024 season, with no reopening date currently available as of September 2024. The USGS and National Park Service have geologists monitoring the area. You can read more about this event and keep up to date on the National Park's Biscuit Basin page that will be linked below. The Old Faithful Inn is located directly across from Old Faithful and is a National Historic Landmark that is located inside the park. This inn was completed in 1904, and you can actually book rooms here. I've heard they do also have a very nice dinner. I think that's a pretty good way to end the day at Yellowstone. We'll see if Old Faithful goes off before the sun goes completely down and we lose the light, but pretty good way to end the day. Ton of good stuff, really excited to review all the footage and really excited to come back eventually, which I'm gonna have to do. But yeah, all of these parks just keep amazing me more than I thought that they could. And we still got the bison over there. So, cool day. While it would have been really cool to see Old Faithful go off right at sunset, unfortunately it waited until it was too dark for me to get anything on camera. But it was still an amazing day at the park. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you join for the next one.